It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
NASA, the organization that brought us to the moon and the organization that will bring us to the future.
NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, was created in 1958 and is a United States government agency responsible for science and technology related to air and space. Since NASA's creation, the agency has taken us to the moon, flew space shuttles, and discovered much about the universe. Despite all the amazing things NASA has accomplished, there is significant controversy surrounding NASA and the extent to which it should be funded. Despite such opposition, the federal government should adequately fund NASA. But what does that mean? How do we know the point at which the funds are adequate? The answer lies within the private sector of space. A common argument against NASA's current funding is that with the emergence of private companies, the funding allocated for NASA could be better spent elsewhere. However, there is question regarding whether private companies are fully equipped and funded to accomplish large-scale missions. So what do we mean by adequate? For NASA to contend with the private sector, they must be funded so that they have the means to accomplish large-scale missions such as returning to the moon and going to Mars, as the government agency does not want to be seen as inferior. While arguing for NASA's funding, it is important to understand how they are funded. NASA receives funding from the federal budget. Every year, the Subcommittee on Commerce, Justice, Science, and Related Agencies discusses what NASA's annual budget should be. Over the past decade, NASA has received relatively a consistent amount of the federal budget.
This graph displays how, with the exception of the space race in the 1960s, NASA has received a similar level of the federal government's budget, with that amount gradually decreasing from 1% to 0.5%. While the amount allocated to NASA each year has been on the decline, the tide appears to be turning as President Trump looks to redirect NASA's goals with an increased budget.
For the 2019 fiscal year, the budget requests a total of $19.6 billion for NASA, which is a $500 million increase from the 2018 budget. The next question is, what is this funding used for? What is left to do in space?
The focus for the past few years has been Mars and will continue to be. Sending humans to Mars is a difficult task, but NASA is working daily on designing new technology that will make this possible. Another thing NASA hopes to do in the near future is return to the moon. Experts say the moon's low gravity and proximity to Earth, along with its natural resources, make it a perfect staging post for missions to Mars and other deep space destinations, as well as a new frontier for humans to settle.
While there is much more for NASA to discover in space, the rise of private companies has some questioning whether we should continue to push NASA when these private companies may be able to accomplish the same feats in the coming years. Some of these companies include SpaceX, Orbital ATK, and Sierra Nevada. However, space exploration is no small task, and leaving such into the hands of the commercial sector could create a stagnant growth. Although there are doubts as to what the commercial can accomplish on its own, it does not mean that the commercial sector lacks value for the future of space exploration.
NASA has begun to form partnerships and rely on private companies to perform some smaller tasks to save money. According to a study done by an employee at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, NASA's decision to rely on private companies like SpaceX to resupply the International Space Station has possibly saved the space agency billions of dollars.
While it may seem controversial for NASA to assert its dominance in space through partnership, it actually works towards their advantage. Because NASA is able to turn routine tasks over to the private sector, NASA can focus on larger tasks such as returning to the moon or going to Mars. NASA can also save money as the companies pay NASA to use their facilities. Here, President Trump is signing a bill adding the exploration of Mars to NASA's goals. By making this a goal, Trump discusses how they will put more of NASA's focus into this goal by making use of the commercial.
This bill will make sure that NASA's most important and effective programs are sustained. It orders NASA to continue, and it does, it orders just that, to continue transitioning activities to the commercial sector, where we have seen great progress. It's amazing what's going on. So many people and so many companies are so into exactly what NASA stands for. So the commercial and the private sector will get to use these facilities, and I hope they're going to be paying us a lot of money, but they're going to make great progress.
Through this partnering, NASA will redirect much of its focus to returning to the moon and sending humans to Mars. However, the only way these goals will be accomplished is through the funding NASA receives from the federal government. Therefore, it is important for NASA to receive adequate funds to compete with the private sector on the larger scale.